And then we can ask people to kind of where they're at also.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Okay.
We're live. Headset to work, so sorry. Hi, are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, great. So I guess all I wanted to respond to is in terms of framing now that we're recording. Justine asked the good question of, you know, is this call building on previous calls? And Kim and I were just saying that the framing in the container is always around endings and beginnings, which is a pretty big container. And that, you know, each week we've kind of been either opening it up to see what people are working on, talking about that, and working through some things, or like last week, we chose to just focus on the Black Lives Matter issue, and heard a lot from a woman that's been participating on these calls pretty frequently. That's a client of yours, Kim's, Doris. Yep, she's not with us today, but so it's a little bit organic each week. And then what I was just saying earlier was I thought Kim did a fantastic session on Friday night for the full moon and talked a bit about what is unique about the time that we're in right now and why we're seeing such massive change. And really the framing, the way that I heard it, Kim, was around, you know, the change is going to happen. So it's, you know, better to get ready for it and welcome it and ask ourselves what we can be aware of, what we can let go of, what do we want to invite in so that the change doesn't happen to us, so to speak. So I really enjoyed that framing. It does feel like it was a long time ago. It was just Friday, but things are changing and evolving at such a fast pace right now that I just found that to be very, very inspiring. She also said that it's a very good time to be writing a lot and journaling between now and I think it was June 21st or July 4th. So, so that was what I wanted to share today. And then we wanted to hear what people are working on. And Kim, do you want to talk about a little bit what you were thinking as well?
Yeah, so, you know, to follow up just on that full moon, since we are coming out of that full moon, people may, people may have felt really tired yesterday. And so it's kind of like the saying is either you make the transition or the transition will make you. And until July 4th, we're going to see a deconstruction of kind of the patterns in our life that need to, and they will illuminate anything that's unconscious will become conscious. And we can embrace this opportunity to actually bring it into the new and see what is going to be brought into the new. So that is what we started with the eclipse, because it started on the eclipse, and then we are headed into the solar eclipse. And by July, we think change has happened from, you know, April, the end of April to now. And I'm just saying from now to July 4th, that's when the real change is going to be happening. So we can use this portal and this time, this gateway to really let go of our old life, shut the door, like close the door so new doors can open. And, you know, it's always when we shut it one door, another one will open. It kind of happens right at that same time. If we can't quite close the door, you know, we're still learning. And we'll be learning over in this waning moon time, learning about our patterns. We're asking the questions. Even today, I posted a video in Facebook about when you ask, and this is what I kind of wanted to do today, but we're going to check in. It's like when you ask the clouds in the sky a question, when you ask it, okay, what is, you know, my kind of next step into my new reality of what I'm coming here to be, or whatever question you pose in the sky, if you start to look to see what form comes in from the clouds, because the clouds change form. You know, it was very interesting. A bear showed up, you know, and bear energy is about the pineal gland, the pituitary. It is about that dream space kind of, and it was just, I just did it right before this started. So that dream space is then how we can bring in our new reality, because as we're focusing on what's coming out of us, at the same time, we want to be focusing on, or asking the question to see what comes through of what is the dream that we will be living, because our reality is going to be entirely new. And so, so today we just wanted to check in with everyone to see what is showing up for people, what they kind of work. What I wanted to do is take everyone through kind of the door to your guides and establish a very clear communication, and clear some of the space too, create more space within you for this week, because we're absorbing a lot of energy from people, and it's just hard to process in the body. So we want to create some space and then establish a very clear communication with your guides or angels or the divine, so that you know and you have a very clear connection to what your new life is going to become by July 4th, Independence Day. So has anything come up this week for people that they wanted to communicate about, or, what's coming out to clear, and need some communication with that? And also maybe, maybe their new life, anything that's coming up that you guys, this is a platform for you guys to have your voice in this.
Hello. Well, I work in sales. Hi. And I found out this week that they're going to be hiring more people on my team. And the team started out pretty small, like 2 years ago when I started. And this will be the third round where they hire more people and we expand. And they always say theoretically we have enough leads, we have enough business. But the prior 2 times, my income dropped drastically. And it took a while for me to get back up to where I was before. And I feel like that's what happened. Like I finally just got back to where I was before they hired this last group. And now we're about to hire more. So I'm totally freaking out financially, because what I'm making is still not enough to get me where I want, which is to move to Southern California. So that's really been and it's just another sign that I know I need to transition out of this particular job into what my heart really wants to be doing. So I guess I just need help from my guides on how to do that.
Anybody else feel compelled to share?
Well, I started working with Kim this week privately, which was a huge move for me. And so I just want to celebrate that. So Darius and others who shared before on these calls about working with Kim, of course, Val, who's my connection to this community, thank you for that, for your testimonials of just your presence with Kim. And Kim, of course, thank you for who you are. So I just want to celebrate that. That's a huge move. And I think one of the things that's it's flowing through me. And you said, when I start something, I go full steam, and it just becomes a lot of it becomes a lens. So I'm looking at my whole life through the lens of the work I'm doing with Kim, which is phenomenal. And there are 2 things I think that really come up. One, I'm going to say this first, which is, you said this to me just yesterday. You're like, you tend to share things you learn immediately out. I as soon as I learn something, I start sharing it with people around me, because that's how I process. But sometimes I give away my miracles. And I never thought about it that way, because I always thought I'm sharing from a place of caring and I'm sharing for good, but never thought about what that's doing for myself. So I want to say that first, to be sensitive of that and what I'm even sharing here. But I think, learning what you just said, Kim, learning how to recognize that guides and spirits, Kim said this to me, and this has been literally informing everything I've been thinking. Guides and spirits are always available if we invite them in and give them guidance. And sometimes, I'm paraphrasing, we unconsciously invite them in through our thoughts and mind when we're not consciously guiding our thoughts. And so they try to help. And sometimes they try to help by causing trauma or causing pain. And prayer and moments of reflection and intention allow us to guide those guides and spirits in really helping us. And that message, it's just, it's another way of understanding the idea that our thoughts form our reality and our thoughts form our world for me. And in this time where I want to be a good citizen and I want to end violence against Black people, and I want to be a part of that. And I also, in this time, thinking about that, it just really is about being vigilant about my thoughts, my beliefs, and really recognizing that every moment's a chance to invite my guides in. So that's coming up for me. So thank you for this idea of talking to the clouds and for this community.
I want to respond to something from both of you that have shared. So just even the concept of the guides, one of the things that I'm going to be letting go of, or I'm done, is this idea that I have to do everything myself. I mean, I think I've come a long way with that already in my life, but there's still more to go. There's always more to go. And specifically around the issue of racial justice, this is an opportunity for me to become a better leader than I've ever been. And I am taking a crash course on how to do that. And I'm dropping the narrative that I can't do it. And I'm definitely dropping the narrative that there's anything about this that has me doing it alone, because there's nothing about this that is being done alone. It has to be done as a community. So I appreciate the context of the guides just from a different perspective than just other people as well, in addition to. So no pressure for anybody else to share, but let's give it another minute or two and see if anything else comes up.
Okay. So if it's okay, we'll just start to do a process, and then we'll check in with everyone to see what you experience and any next steps or thoughts. And first, what we'll do is just start to really ground and release kind of the week, everything that we've absorbed. And then we're going to establish communication with our guides, and angels or the divine or whatever you want to call it. When you think about it, the communication that we have with one another, and when you look at your communication with people in your life, everything is based in connection first. Communication makes that relationship. And then from that communication, we can co-create, that co-creation. And so it's so important, I can't tell you, it's like even me talking to the clouds. I took these other videos earlier on the mountain, and I asked the clouds a question, and I've got to somehow capture all those forms that the clouds just changed and emerged into. So, another client said she was looking at, she had a question about, should I buy this property? And she looked out in the trees, and the tree branches said, wait. So, if we can look and see the communication all around us, then we know we're so supported and so loved. And then we can even, with other people, we can even ask their spirit guides, to establish communication with them. Because sometimes I think that's where the break happens of, how we talk with others, that communication. And like you were saying, Val, you want to be a leader or a voice. We all have to have our voice in this time. So are you guys ready to just do a little process, and then we'll open it back up? Okay, so just go ahead and close your eyes and turn your attention inward. And as you focus on your breath, allow your heart, it creates a field of energy around you. It creates a bubble. And just allow your breath to flow easily, just like the wave. And start to allow your attention to move down at the base of your spine, your foundation. And establish a grounding cord from your foundation into the Mother Earth. And start to set that grounding cord on release, where you start to let go of the energies that you took on this week. And there was just a lot of energies and a lot of protests, a lot of emotional things coming up. And start to see what you may have absorbed, maybe what you took on. Maybe where even people that were very ungrounded, that were nervous or anxious, they called you and you start to feel their energy in your body, and just start to let that go and release. And as you focus on your breath, allow your energy to wash it out like a wave, and allow the Mother Earth, her heartbeat, to start to come up through your legs, through your feet, and each side of your legs. Allow the earth energy to collect in your spine, and start to just release and dump out that energy, as there is the circuit of release and renew. And allow the heart to pull in the earth energy into it, so that there is this connection and communication and co-creation of your heart and her heart, where you are updating and new information for your body in this time. And just release any energy, especially until July 4th here, of where you want to let go of kind of the old beliefs, the old thoughts, old communication, maybe old relationships, and how you want to be in this new time. And as you just release that down into the earth, it's more the question you pose to Mother Earth, like, let me renew. How do you want me to renew? How can I build a new foundation so that my body can be thriving in this time? One that is based in new relationships and a new body. And so allow that earth energy, you can feel it. I can feel everyone's earth energy starting to really create the 4 pillars: that safety, security, support, and stability. Where on our own foundation, that this is creating a new nation where everyone has that. And especially for Black Lives Matter, that is their foundation too. And allow that energy to come up in the heart. And as we're moving through this next step, and just start to notice if the body, gets ungrounded, to just release and let go. You can even say release and let go, so that the body can create more space in it, so that you are able to receive this new communication. It's kind of like when you close the door, kind of to your old life, the old life of lack, the old world of, injustice and pain, that we can shut the door to that and a new door will open. And so from your heart, start to allow the breath to just move the energy up through your throat. And everyone has a lot of energy around the throat. A lot of cords are in the back of everyone's throat. And we want to just start to connect that up. And it's kind of, what voice are we going to be speaking with in this time? And we want our voice connected to our spirit, connected to our guides and angels, the divine, so that we have a clear voice of truth coming in. and allow that energy to move into the center of your head. And just say hello to the clarity where you're able to see truth, see justice, where you can start to see your new life, where you have clarity and insight on what your new life is going to be like. And from the crown of your head, imagine at the crown, you just kind of tune it. Imagine cleaning off that crown with gold, kind of running a gold circuit on top of that crown and extending that crown, creating that crown even higher. The crown is where we hold our spiritual information. It is our connection to our spirit guides, to the divine. And start to match, everyone match our crowns. And match at gold. When we start to match our crown at gold, then we can have heaven on earth. Then we can start to create in a whole new way. And from this connection, like move up and connect right up into, you can imagine that door, the door to divinity. And in that door, where on the other side are your guides, our angels, it is that connection to the divine, and start to move through that door. And in this garden, just imagine it as a garden. I want you to say hello to spirit guides, your spirit guides. And the moment you say hello to your spirit guides, just ask, how many spirit guides are there around me? How many spirit guides are showing up in this moment? Spirit guides can change depending on what issues we have. And so we want to just be in present time. We want spirit guides to help us in this transition on a body level. So we're calling in spirit guides that know about this, like how to have a voice in this time, how to have real clear communication about kind of what the divine even is wanting to say, you know, what the guides are even wanting to bring in through this time. And we're asking for guides to help us process kind of the emotions maybe that we haven't processed in the past 35 years and the blocks that have prevented us from really experiencing love in our life, that have kept us in isolation. So say hello to guides that can help you form a relationship with people in a new way that is based in love, based in wholeness, based spirit to spirit. And just ask too for, especially physically, because physically our bodies are going to be, it's like letting an old building kind of fall to the ground and a new one rising. Ask the spirit guides to help update, change, transform the body so we can be in wholeness and in health. And ask the spirit guides maybe a question that you have. And when you ask these questions, this is where I want to see how many spirit guides do you have around you. I'm seeing some people with 5, 10, some 20. It's not, it doesn't matter necessarily how many. It's more about kind of what you're working on. So just establish that communication. And you may even see them as a color. And if you don't see them, that's fine. And so in this space, I want you to ask them, you know, about a question about who you will become in the next 3 weeks. We have the window of opportunity in this time to have a new life. And we want to be able to really make this transition and change. So ask them for help. And it's more just, it's like I asked the sky, just, you know, what do you want to show me in this time? Well, it showed me a bear. It showed me I need to dream. The next thing it showed me was a lion. It showed me I needed courage to confront any fears, to dissolve them. And don't even worry about kind of what answers you get, because the guides will show up and they'll be around you. They will be supporting you always. They'll come into your dream space. But I want you to feel, you know, how real they are. Guides are very different than angels. Angels haven't had a body. I think maybe one angel has had a body, but guides have had a body. They have experience. They are teachers. And this upper circuit of asking and receiving, and imagine that from your heart, we are asking our guides, help us in this time, help us especially with what we cannot see, kind of the current and the instability of where maybe we've created from a distortion, and where we hang on to an old belief or old lives because of fear and anxiety, maybe that we don't have faith that we'll get something new that comes in. So we are asking the guides to help us have faith, help us align, and just feel the circuit kind of, we are asking, we are receiving. And in the back of your neck, I want you to imagine from your guides, there is an electric blue connection. It's like a cord that moves down from them into the back of your neck so that you can receive clear communication. A lot of people are putting their foot in their mouth. A lot of people are channeling kind of, you know, and then they say these things because they're channeling even maybe somebody in the environment. Somebody maybe is racist and they say these horrific things. And so we have to have and establish very clear communication with our guides and angels. That way they are speaking through us, that we are in alignment, and we want to hear what they have to say. So imagine this blue cord connected to our guides, to the back of our throat, and allow the energy to just move in. It's like an IV, just that clarity that we are listening to a new voice of a new time, a new way of being, that the communication and tune it, you know, your telepaths right here are about tuning into a station. And it's kind of like, what are you tuned into? What are you tuned into listening to? Some people are tuned in to listening to chaos, and so they speak chaos. Let's be clear that we are tuned into listening, our higher self, our guide. That is what we are tuned into, like a radio station, hearing that communication. And then we have kind of the spontaneous speech that comes out of us that can eradicate. It's like a knife. It will eradicate any injustice, that it will speak truth, and then it will bring about healing. And start to notice too that when you are and start to ground out, maybe when you have an automatic response of trying to make people feel better, trying to, you know, maybe make people feel better that have been very unjust, that we can just let that go and release it out of our body. Where a lot of times, you know, somehow we give to narcissists. Somehow we're always, you know, pleasing because there is a threat in the space. And that threat, we don't know how to deal with or handle. So we're just releasing that. So our bodies can renew of, no, we are grounded. And grounding in every situation then allows kind of the spirit and your guides to come in and through. And because let's on a even bigger level, kind of in this space, in the garden space, say hello on a global level, to the people who have passed, like Martin Luther King days, like really people who have come before us, and those voices, and the guides of kind of what we're trying to reconcile here and now. Let's ask for a new voice to come in and through. Something that can bring unity, wholeness. And when you ask guides like on a global level, see, this is a different school. Kind of your guides are teaching you, and this is where I want you to be very aware of, your guides will teach you kind of like maybe where you're in duality, where you're playing out a side. But when we ask for a collective, kind of there's different levels here, and we are multidimensional. So we're inviting kind of this stadium of guides to come in and through to help us process and have very clear voices that we are not alone in this, and that we are just creating a space for these new voices to come in and through. And then say hello now to an angel or angels, like the golden angels, and start to notice how different their vibration is when you start to communicate with them. When you communicate with golden angels, it's much different. The vibration is not as low. It's a whole different space. This is where you can kind of go into a miracle space and have an experience that we can really bring into the body. So ask the golden angels, ask the angels to really experience a miracle. And ask them, what do they want you to become in this time? It's kind of like, how do they see you? If we can have how they see us, then we can just become that in form. And in order to, make a step, in order to grow, a lot of times we have to have somebody very accurately looking at us and seeing us. And allow that blue cord and that communication. And you can feel it. You can feel this love. You can feel the support. And allow them to communicate that you can really receive and have love in this time. That we can bring this love and comfort and care from them here. And that can be in our communication, in our spirit, and with that information. And tune in like a radio station. It's very different when you're connecting with the divine. Like everyone's gold, everyone is like glistening gold. And tune into your crown. It's kind of the, rings around the crown. Tune into the crown, extend that gold so that we are like an antenna, of bringing in miracles, bringing in love, bringing in a new way of being where we are all spirit. And that in this time, the transformation happens for Black Lives Matter. That the transformation happens on your new foundation. That since we're listening and tuning into the angels, your whole structure starts to change and transform. So in establishing that cord from the back of your neck, now you won't allow kind of these energies to plug in, or these entities or beings to just start speaking through you. It's like when, people talk constantly, they've got beings hooked in them, and they're programming us out of our energy, or they're always talking about chaos. So ask a question to the angels. about how to be here in this time, in this new time. How we can have a new world in wholeness for whatever you're working on, whatever next step your angel is helping you with. And then we can ask too, the people around us, we can ask their guides and angels, because we're living with them or we're connected with them, to help them. The easiest way to create change sometimes, even in somebody else, is go ask their guides, ask their angel. You know, they have agreements with them, but it's like a relationship. Sometimes it's too hard to talk to people on this level because they can't hear us. You know, they're separated, they're disconnected. So tune into their guides, tune into their angels. And just say hello to a miracle and allow kind of a golden ball from the angels to come through and allow that to fill up your crown. Allow it to fill up the body. And move it all the way into the earth so that you are filling up and renewing. And just go ahead and focus on your heart and then open your eyes. And come into present time. Does anyone want to share maybe what you experienced, or maybe what your guides had to say? Or it would be good to hear kind of, even if you don't know what they had to say, even if you talk, it'll start to come out. I never know what they say until I talk, and then it starts to come out. And that way I can just work on the connection as you talk.
Hey, Kim, thanks. That was great. I was going to say, I did have stuff come up around, you know, the race issues this week. But at the beginning of the call, I didn't mention it because I was afraid I'd vent for like 30 minutes and I didn't want to overtake the call. But that occurred to me in the middle of the process. That's why I didn't even mention it. The piece about going to the Golden Angels, that was really good to be able to feel that difference. And then the part about asking other people's guides, like I realized I could talk to the guides of my coworkers and my managers and ask that their guides work with my guides to create a space where I thrive and I'm nurtured and I'm supported for however long I have this current job. And that felt really good to have that realization and to be able to receive love on that level.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you'll start to see in that communication what they say. And we're looking for, yeah, that's great. Doris, thank you.
Hi. Well, I found that to be pretty powerful. I didn't doze off, but it was just so powerful that I felt my spirit just whoop. And I have been asking a lot of guidance with my gold spirits lately. And as you know, been working with Kim on some things going on, and also with the dream state. And I feel like every time I communicate with them, I don't know, there's something going on with my dream state that is very powerful. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say, but the dream world is so powerful, and I feel like maybe writing them down is going to be the most effective way to really start communicating with them.
Yeah. And you're really working the 8th and 9th level in the astral, and everyone is actually. And that is where you can pose a question to your guides and the angels there. So you can then, it may end up in your dream too, where you'll start to uncover some anxiety or where there is a disconnection, and ask for healing. And ask that the guides, I always ask for information from them, because already got the information. It's not like you've got to go to school and learn it. You can just download it. And then you're working it in the astral. That's the school, the astral space, the dream space.
Yeah, I'm holding my video with my hand, and I think if anyone's watching the recording, they'll see the moment where I dropped my phone for a split second. And I definitely had that moment where I was like, "Oop!" Like, "Oh, I'm back." And so I understand that it was like I don't know how long it was. I'll have to watch the video to see how long. In my mind, it was an instantaneous moment, but I definitely dozed, and it was so sweet and tender, because I feel like I could see the cluttery images, the images that are where I get distracted. But Kim, your voice was so powerfully just keeping me focused, and I don't believe I ever lost your guidance, even while I was kind of floating through. And then you'd ask a specific question that allowed me to come back. And so specifically one that really resonated is, whenever I think about connecting to my guides, I always think about my particular lineage, like my grandmother or my friend Duncan. But when you said ask Martin Luther King, I was like, oh my God, like there are some incredible guides that are way more accessible to me in this form than they were perhaps when they were alive for me. And that was really exciting. I would love to open myself up to be more open to input to those who came before me and really led us through this time period, and just kind of seeing what settles in, especially because I believe that, I think Martin Luther King was a human when he was living here, and he had human frailties, but I have a feeling his spirit has so much greater wisdom now that he's not incorporeal. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too, it's very good to kind of go out, because a part of kind of raising up is you drift, and then you go out, and even though your spirit is there following it, and so you just go into a healing space, and then like really collecting that, keep bringing in gold, everyone, to keep filling up the body, because even in this very small kind of healing, it may take your body 3 days to integrate what we've just done. And there's different levels that words can't even quite communicate, the integration that's going to take place on the body. So keep continuing to fill it up with the gold.
I have a question, Kim. When we do go, that was very profound, and definitely like not in my head at all, where I usually spend a lot of time. And so one of the things I'm thinking about as you guided us through that, and what you just said about, sort of integrating it, like I would love to have a way to remember to access that when this stuff just starts coming at me all week like a fire hose. And what I'm trying to let go of is always responding. And I'd like to be more thoughtful and not feel like I have to respond in that moment. And sometimes that takes discipline, but I guess my question is just, do you have any thoughts about, as we go back into our lives and the way that our society is set up to have the constant sort of flow of energy between humans, how do we remind ourselves to step back and connect with that divine voice so we can speak from a higher place and a more thoughtful place?
The first step is to ground. Your response and your reaction is dropping, grounding and getting into the body. And with that grounding, you're starting to release, the energy that is in you. And, immediately just imagine, keep it simple. tune the radio station into your guides. You want to hear what they have to say. Like people are watching TV tuned into, the chaos or whatever is being said. You just ask. It's just asking, and I ask, I receive. That's a circuit. The heart creates in a circuit. I'm asking, hand something over, I'm asking and receiving. So it's just doing it. It's just actually communicating, like me asking the clouds, what do you have to say to me? And then the image is coming forth about what my next step is. So it's just like we're talking right now. And, that relationship with spirit and with the guides is more real actually than the relationships kind of we have with each other, because if you could feel the subtle and all the support and love, then we would not be in the lie and the duality of this isolation and frustration. And then we could bring kind of their energy into, all they need is for us to be a conduit. Maybe somebody has a good example of this this week that happened, that we just need to show up, and then just even our energy there. And it's not even our energy, it's this energy, we're really bringing in the planet's energy and the divine's energy and letting that fill in the space. But maybe somebody has a good example of maybe their voice this week in communication with someone, maybe that was a hard communication, what they noticed and what shifted. And
I did actually. I emailed you part of what happened, Kim. I had been triggered by some conversation on my work Slack board. People have been talking about how disruptive the protests were, how inconvenienced they were by it, basically. And after and this is even started before things really ramped up, like the week before. And then it was more Monday and Tuesday. And I got really triggered Tuesday. And so I called my boss. At first, I was going to respond on the board. And I was like, no, that's not the way to do it. And I knew I couldn't be professional. But as soon as I called my boss, who's a white ally, I started crying. Like it all hit me, the grief around George Floyd and all of it. Like I had been blocking it. And he was very supportive. And he said, let's just have a team meeting tomorrow. And we all work virtually, so we always have Zoom meetings. But we had a Zoom meeting on Wednesday, and he basically created a safe space, set it up like a town hall. It was very uncomfortable. And I have a mixed team, white people, Black, Latino, Asian. And it was tough, but I was at least able to explain the context, the history of police brutality, just how intense it's been, especially the last 6 years since Ferguson, Michael Brown, that, Black people were hearing these kinds of deaths every month, 1 to 3 times a month for 6 years. And people have been working with community groups and civil rights groups and police unions, and it's barely made a dent. People have been trying to work within the system. And then after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, people needed to do something else. And most people didn't know that. They didn't have that history. And then we had a larger sales team. So my small team was 12 people. We had a larger team meeting on Friday with about 35 people, including our CEO and our president, who were both white. And my manager had asked for permission beforehand from all of us if he could talk about our little town hall. And they did. A few of us did. And I mentioned, I think one of the things that creates solutions around all of this is if we all start talking to each other, from all different ethnicities and in all of our communities, not just with our home, not just with our friends, but all of our communities, including work. And then an hour after that meeting, my CEO, in an email to the entire team, just talking about team stuff, actually mentioned that he was grateful for my share and that he thanked me for it. I was blown away. I did not expect to have that kind of miracle over the last 3 days. And it was just used because I stood up for myself and I got my needs met as well. We all agreed not to process any of this stuff on the Slack message boards. That's just not the place for it. And so a few people have reached out one-on-one to talk to me as well, which is a lot healthier. And so now we're actually really learning from one another, other white people on the team as well. And I'm just amazed that it worked. And I know that this process is definitely what helped lead to it, as well as some of the other spiritual stuff I've been doing.
Well, and it just goes to show how you're showing them how to lead, because I think a lot of these leaders don't know how to lead, and they don't know what to do around this. And so, you know, you're leading your CEO, you're leading this whole community.
Mm-hmm. And before all those meetings, I asked for my guides, guide me, channel through me, tell me what to say.
Mm.
That's great.
I'll share. I think, let's see. So because I'm a leader at our organization, and our organization is an environmental organization, which is rooted in racism. And we are a white organization, and we live in the whitest city in America. And we've been working on a diversity, equity, and inclusion program for 2 years that I think we've done pretty well at the inclusion and understanding equity, but we really struggle with the diversity aspect. We're about a team of 20 or so. We've got 2 people of color on our staff, but neither of them are Black. And we do have and we're kind of an older, like very much Gen X group. And I'd say maybe we have 5 or 6 millennials, and that's about it. So the diversity is really in the generations, and they're very different. The younger generation is like, we can change this now. Like, we're done and we're going to change it now, today. And my generation, the Generation X, is like, we don't have a frame of changing in a moment. And yet, like, this is exactly what I've realized is, like, this is exactly what I've wanted my whole life. It's like, let's change it right now in this moment. Like, forget it. Just forget the past, and let's just do things differently right now. And what I realized, the whole week was all challenging conversations, but there was one that was particularly challenging for me, which is someone that reports to me that is also a friend that I greatly respect, and she has had a lot of change on our organization because she speaks up. And she spoke up on Friday, and in a management meeting on Thursday, and she felt like she kind of got piled on for speaking up. And I could see that she felt that way because we were on a Zoom call, and I could see it in her face. But we talked on Friday, and I just said, I just want to hear what happened for you yesterday. And she just let loose. And she's like, I feel like I got piled on. I'm sick of this, and I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I'm like, don't be quiet. I never wanted you to be quiet. And I'm like, I can't change as quickly as you can. Like, we're talking about days here, but like you said, Kim, things are changing so quickly, which is fabulous. And I think what I was in was the resistance of, well, I got to know how to change, and I got to know how to do it, and I got to know how to do it right. And so I'm processing this with my husband yesterday on a walk. And it was just like in an instant, I was like, no, you don't have to know how to do it. Just start doing it. Just stop doing what you were doing and just do something differently. And it just like, I just dropped it, and then like today I'm like, I know what to do for tomorrow. I don't know what to do forever, but I know what to do for tomorrow. I know where to ask for help. And I know we need to start making just different decisions and doing things differently. And so I want to stay in that place of feeling like there is this unknown, and yet I don't have to be the one who knows, right? It's this other forces, guides, divine, whatever it is. It's bigger than all of us humans. So
Wait,
thank you for that.
well, you're making me think of Alan. I actually have no idea what time it is. I don't know how much time we have left, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally lost track of time. Whoa, wow.
yeah. Well, sorry. I wanted to ask, maybe it's a topic for next week, because this is a tool, Kim, when you talked about reporting, that was something really powerful, and it's something I'd never heard of before. It's something she brought up privately this week, but I think would be a gift to this community as well. And I think one of the reasons why is it really goes into what you just said, Val, which is when you can, well, for me, what I took away is when I can connect to my celestial beings, the power, spirit, moon, stars, the things that remind me of the bigger whole, that invite the spirit into my life, when I can connect with them and name that which doesn't serve, that which harms me, that which does not work for me. Once I do that, it's no longer my responsibility to heal that pain. I can actually distance myself from the trauma of it and really focus in allowing in what will heal me. And so I don't know if we could talk more about that or what that looks like for different people on the next call, but it kind of comes back down to we don't have to have the answers. We don't have to have the solutions. We can co-create with spirit, but it is important for us to name what's not working. And as soon as we know, and to be courageous in speaking into it. So that's kind of the theme that's coming up for me in this.
That's right. And Val, like what you said, it's really clearing the resistance. If we clear resistance within our space, it creates a lot of space within us. And that resistance keeps us stuck. So really releasing that resistance. But yes.
I was going to say,
was reporting, right? Reporting, is that what you said? Sort of reporting the challenge, Jen?
My clients know what reporting is, but we can talk about it next week.
No, I wanted to make sure I got that right. I know what you're talking about. Go ahead, Grace.
I was going to say one of the things that came to mind as you were talking about was someone had posted on my Instagram feed, we need to treat unlearning racism the way we would like learning piano. You don't master that in a day. You do a little bit every day and you get better every day, but you have to make mistakes before you learn.
Yeah.
And I think just giving us all that space to do that is helpful, and not just white people, Black people, everybody, all colors, we all have to unlearn it internally and externally.
Thank you. Thanks for calling out the time, Jen. Completely lost track of time there.
Thank you for joining, everyone.
I still actually don't know what time it is.
It's actually 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So any other requests for next week besides Jen's? Oh, wait, what is next week? Is next week the 14th?
I don't know.
Because is that Father's Day? Yeah. It might be Father's Day. I'm not sure. That's the following Saturday.
I think I want to take a hiatus next Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Sunday, wait, so would that mean that that's the 20, hold on. Let's just quickly look at the calendar. That would be the 21st, Kim, which is kind of a big day, June 21st.
Yeah, and I know I'm going to be doing Moon Magic, so we'll just...
And it's also Father's Day too, the 21st.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there's maybe we want to either choose a different day or invite people to journal a lot and share a lot during this time.
Yeah, and I'll be doing other classes. I have like three classes a week too, so people can go on those, and we'll send something out, as far as whether it's 3 weeks or.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, plenty of classes between now and then that you're already hosting on your own that we can join.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Bye, Sophie. Bye, Linda. Bye, Justine. Bye, Jenny. Bye, Jen.
You want to hang on for a sec, Kim?
Yeah. Let me just end the recording.